Students, now we'll see or discuss Unit 3 Nuclear Measurements. So in this chapter we are going to get 15 total marks, and this 15 marks, one 10 marks question will be there and one 5 marks question. So first we should know radiation. So radiation means radioactive materials we know emit nuclear radiation, which mainly consists of 4 particles. They are alpha, beta, gamma, neutrons. So now let us see little introduction. A lot of instrumentation is needed to measure the amount of radioactivity encountered in nuclear research work and for tracking of radiated alpha, beta and gamma particles. The energy of this particle is absorbed by other molecules, producing chemical changes, ionization or other reactions. Types of radiation. As I told just now, the different types of radiations are alpha particle radiation, beta particle radiation, gamma particle radiation, neutron particle radiation. Now in detail we'll see what do you mean by alpha particle. The alpha particle is a helium nucleus consisting of 2 protons and 1 neutron. It has a mass of 62 into 10 raised to minus 27 kg of weight mass and carries a positive charge of 3.2 into 10 raised to minus 9 coulomb. The alpha particle is the heaviest and slowest, travels at a speed of 1 divided by 100 of the velocity of light. Next we'll see beta particle. It is an electron with a mass of 9.03 into 10 raised to minus 31 kg and a charge of 1.6 into 10 raised to minus 19 coulomb. Since beta is much lighter than alpha, it has a speed of approximately equal to light. Gamma particles. Gamma particles are electromagnetic radiations with a wavelength of 0.03 to 3 angstrom. Gamma particles travel at the speed of light, and because of shorter wavelength they have great penetrating power. Neutron particles. The mass of neutrons is between alpha and beta particles. The speed of neutron may be high or low depending upon the source from which they are emitted. Neutron has no charge and very difficult to detect. Geiger-Müller tube. So if we see the figure very carefully, so it consists of a tube. So there is a thin window, so we are letting the radiations, and there are 2 cathode plates inside, and these cathodes are connected to a battery and it is connected with the help of resistor. Now we will see the working principle. The Geiger-Müller tube is frequently used for detection and measurement of alpha, beta and gamma rays. This tube is a diode consisting of a cathode, which is a long metal cylinder, and an anode, which is a fine wire running through the center of the cylinder. Both of them are mounted in a thin walled airtight glass envelope sealed by an extremely thin window through which radiations may pass. The air is removed from the envelope and a small amount of inert gas like argon is added. The voltage of the battery is kept below the ionization potential. So what is ionization? It is the energy necessary to remove an electron from the neutral atom, or required to remove the most loosely bound electron, that is valence electron, is called ionization potential of the gas. If radiation penetrates through the window and enters the envelope, will ionize some of the gas atoms. The resulting negative ion go towards anode and positive ion towards cathode. In their travel, the ions collide with other atoms, causing them to ionize. This continues till whole of the gas atoms are ionized. This causes current flow through the resistance R and results in output voltage proportional to the intensity of the radiation. Ionization chamber. So in the figure we are able to see radiation is coming inside. So there is a small gap through which radiations have to come inside, and there is a rod which protrudes, which passes through the insulating material, and rod is acting as one electrode and the two metal cylinders acting as another. They are joined to battery and it is connected to a resistance, and here we are getting the output voltage. So whatever the output voltage we are getting across the resistor is directly proportional to the amount of radiation that is entering inside the chamber. The ionization chamber, it is a metal cylinder sealed at one end by a window. The other end of the cylinder is closed and a metal rod, center electrode, protrudes outside the cylinder on this end. The central electrode is grounded through resistance R. A positive potential is applied to the outer electrode. The chamber contains a gas which may be nitrogen, argon or methane. When radiation enters the chamber, some of the atoms of the gas are ionized. The resulting ions travels towards the respective electrodes. During rushing, these ions collide with other atoms, causing them to ionize. As the positive ions collect on the central electrode, the DC potential of the electrode is increased, causing current flow through the resistance R. This voltage may be then amplified and measured. Last one we'll see scintillation counter. So if we see the figure, since it is the crystals, scintillation crystals, it has been named as scintillation counter. So it consists of a multiple photo multiplier tube, thin aluminum housing. So radiations are let inside and we are getting the output voltage. Certain crystals such as zinc sulfide, sodium iodide, anthracene and naphthalene etc. produce a brief flash of light each time they are struck by an alpha or beta or gamma particles. The production of a flash of light by striking the crystal mentioned above with alpha or beta or gamma rays is called scintillation. This principle is employed in a nuclear radiation sensor called scintillation counter. Now every time a radiation strikes the scintillation crystals, a tiny flash of light is produced. The flash of light is amplified by a photomultiplier incorporated in the scintillation counter. Thus each particle produces a pulse of anode current at the output of the photomultiplier. The output of the photomultiplier is applied to a high-speed electronic counter which counts each tiny flash generated by the scintillation crystals. Thus, by counting the number of pulses in a given period of time, the intensity of radiation may be detected.